From 1909 to 1910, French journalist and author Gaston Leroux published his serialized novel, The Phantom of the Opera, in Le Gaulois, a French newspaper. Gaston Leroux then gave that novel to Hollywood filmmaker Carl Laemmle, who went on to cast Lon Chaney, the man of a thousand faces, as the Phantom in one of silent cinema's most iconic and enduring horror classics, 1925's The Phantom of the Opera. Since then, there has been a Phantom of the Opera adaptation nearly once a decade, if not more, and November 15th, 2025 will mark the 100th anniversary of the first surviving film adaptation of Phantom of the Opera. Hello, my beautiful angels of music. My name is Summer, and welcome back to 100 Years of Phantom. Today we'll be talking about the 1983 made-for-TV Phantom of the Opera starring Maximilian Schell as the Phantom and Jane Seymour, Dr. Quinn Medicine Woman herself, as this movie's Christine stand-in.
What was that? Okay, James.
What? What is that? Why would they make it?
Well, they got me. That was clickbait, but they got me.
This movie was almost a non-entity. It was so strangely paced and poorly written that it almost felt like nothing was happening at all, and yet so many strange things were happening all at once. Let's get into it. A brief reminder of format before we get started. I'll be doing a synopsis of the film, sprinkled throughout with my thoughts, feelings, trivia, and any thoughts and feelings on the trivia. And this would normally be followed by a quick roundup of any trivia I wasn't able to work into the synopsis itself, but I don't think we're going to need that this time around. So, to wrap up, there will be two rankings. One based on the film's accuracy as an adaptation of the novel, and the other my personal opinion on where this adaptation falls compared to other Phantom films I've seen. And with that, we begin. The movie kicks off with a wild-haired conductor named Sander Corvin staring adoringly at his wife, Elena, as she horribly mangles Gounod's Faust. Nobody seems satisfied with her performance, not the wealthy manager of the opera, Baron Hunyadi, not the other members of the chorus, and not Elena herself, who feels she's not ready. After this macabre performance, Elena is crudely propositioned by the Baron, who assures her that if she does not succumb to his romantic overtures,
leave now and say goodbye to your career in my opera house.
She'll never work in this town again, this town being Budapest and not Paris. For this series, I'm trying to hit the major theatrical or made-for-TV versions of Phantom, the big adaptations, first during this centennial year before I circle back to more fringe adaptations like Phantom of the Mall, Eric's Revenge, or indie adaptations like 2009's Angel of Music, where a cult of Phantom truthers rises up to hide or reveal the true lineage of Christine Daae's child. I don't remember, it's been a long time. Of these big adaptations, I would say the 1983 Phantom is probably the least well known. Wait! Upon further reflection, I realized that there's a version of Phantom of the Opera on my list that I've never seen at all, so I may have spoken too soon about this being the least well known of the big adaptations. So just in case I was wrong, I'm putting that here now. So forgive Summer from the past who spoke too soon. Summer from the present has perhaps realized the mistakes of her speech and
if you could give Summer from the future time to do some research, that would be really nice so that I could get this figured out. Thank you.
As a made-for-TV movie, it was already a smaller production, naturally meaning less marketing, paired with a smaller initial audience upon release. Pair that with the fact that in the present day, the only physical copies of the film that I could find are formatted for European DVD and VHS players, which cuts out a large portion of the target market for the film. That means that there is very little information available online for the making of this film or any behind-the-scenes facts and trivia. The fandom wiki for the movie looks like this. Pretty much just the summary and the cast, and the Wikipedia for the film is entirely in German. Just kidding, you can read it in English. But essentially it's the same, summary and cast. But it does have a tiny little trivia section. And when you pair that tiny little trivia section with the trivia available on IMDb, it turns out this movie has 6 pieces of trivia total. 5 if you combine some similar trivia points. So, please allow me to share with you trivia point number 1. This movie was shot on location in Budapest, Hungary at the Joseph Katona Theatre in Kecskemét, and The Phantom's Lair was filmed in the storage facilities beneath a brewery. The movie itself is obviously available online or I wouldn't be able to watch it, and in my resource doc below I have links to where you can see it on YouTube or on Internet Archive. Anyway, Elena, not doing great as a singer, being creeped on by her skeevy patron. We resume. Elena tells her husband, Sandor Corvin, what took place between Baron Hunyadi and herself. Sandor is, of course, outraged at the insult,
I'll kill him,
but tries to convince Elena to put it all aside, to focus on her debut, and that, despite her doubts,
I'm just not good enough.
You are good enough. You are a splendid singer.
she is ready to take the stage, and that even her shaking hands are the sign of a great singer.
Your hand is trembling. All great singers are nervous in their dressing rooms. That's a wonderful sign.
He leads her to the piano, and they run through the part of the score she was having the most difficulty with. And this time, well, this time,
Oh, Dieu!
she still doesn't hit the note that she kept messing up before, but they act like she does.
You see? You see? You can do it.
Pretty tough words for somebody who got dropped down to alto in the 11th grade and hasn't been able to hit a high note without her voice cracking since. Shut up, you. Shut up. Shut up. You be quiet.
Now, watching their interaction and just generally the way Sandor behaves, the audience gets the feeling that this dude is maybe a little bit too into his wife. But despite his ardor and his passion for her and his proclaimed confidence in her abilities, Sandor doesn't want to take any chances when it comes to opening night. So, he goes to a man whose passion and career is clapping. Like, this is a guy who gets hired to go into crowds and stir up whatever audience reaction the buyer paid for.
I have perfect timing. I'll start the applause just when she wants it. I provide the thunder and lightning.
So, Sandor, maestro of the opera, hires this maestro of the audience to clap at the right time so that his wife's debut performance is reported as a success. Also, this is the clapping man's cat. We will be seeing this cat again, and all you need to know right now is that her current existence with a world-class clapper is a prison. And she loves to go outside at the same time every night, except when it's raining. So, the curtain rises on Faust, and Elena does pretty well. Her voice sounds stronger than it did during rehearsal, she's confident, but we see a significant glance pass between the professional clapper and the Baron in his box seat. Who has the deeper pockets, and for whom does the clapper toll? The rich Baron, of course. So the clapper stands up and starts shaking his cane at the stage until the whole audience is riled up and booing poor Elena. takes this very hard, especially when she reads the scathing review of her debut that was printed and distributed to all of Budapest only 1 hour after her disastrous performance, and so she begins to wander sadly into the night. Elena's loving husband Sandor tries to find her, to console and comfort her in the wake of the clapper's betrayal, but it's hard to find anyone that knows anything about her whereabouts when this wandering violinist is playing so gosh darn loud you can't hear what anybody's saying. I can't tell if this is deliberate storytelling or just bad sound mixing, but here's a clip.
You seen Elena?
No, I thought she was with you.
Yeah.
She'll be fine, Shandor. Please don't worry. She's not as fragile as...
But before Sandor can find her, Elena makes her way up to a bridge, takes off her cape, and throws herself into the blue Danube, where she perishes beneath the waves. Sandor Clegane, the Hound, no, wrong guy, Sandor Corvin, her husband, outraged now that the love of his life is gone, the love of his life that he loves maybe a little bit too much, that maybe he loves a little obsessively, he starts blazing a trail of revenge. First, he lures the cat away from the window, even though it's raining, and we know that the cat doesn't like to go out in the rain. I was worried about the cat, but you don't have to be, because she's fine. No harm comes to this cat, and we in fact later see the cat being petted by the Phantom in his lair. So, he lures the cat away from the window even though it's raining. Sandor wasn't trying to get revenge on the cat, of course, silly. That's a silly thing to think. No, he was trying to lure the professional clapper to the window so he could chop off one of his clapping hands. Then, Sandor goes to the theater critic who wrote the bad review of Elena's performance and gets the critic to confess that he'd been hired by the Baron to tank Elena's performance. The Baron had meant what he'd threatened her with. She would not sing in his opera if he could not have his way with her. So the Baron had hired the clapper to rile the crowd into disfavor of Elena's performance and hired the critic to pre-write the bad review so it would be ready to hand out the same evening as the performance. Sandor, upon confronting the critic, obtains a written confession of his duplicitous scheming with Baron Hunyadi.
I did conspire with the Baron Hunyadi.
And it's like, okay, cool. He's got his confession now. He can blow this case wide open. He can clear his wife's name and prove that she was a talented singer. She was just conspired against the night of her debut. But then he turns around and immediately lights the paper on fire.
I do admire your work. The way you encourage our young composers deserves admiration.
But it was accurate. I wrote exactly what happened. What more do you want?
Okay, and still, benefit of the doubt, I could understand this. Maybe that was part of it. Maybe that was a whole cat and mouse game he was playing with the critic before committing his ultimate revenge. I mean, he did cut a man's hands off already this evening, so he probably has similarly violent intentions here. But while he's holding the burning confession, he doesn't say anything threatening or pull out a weapon. He just kind of stares at the writer, which gives the writer time to pull out a gun, pointed at Sandor. Sandor tackles him. They fight for the gun goes off. The writer's dead, and a bottle of acid has knocked over, beneath which Sandor lays while it pours onto him for like 18 million years. He takes the time to let it wash his whole face, and then puts his hands up, and he's like... And then finally, once the bottle's empty, he rolls out of the way of the now trickle of acid and just flops back and forth in the flames, because that confession he was holding, he dropped it to tackle him, and now the whole room is ablaze. And we think maybe it's curtains for Sandor Corvin, but it's not, because the rat catcher's been here the entire time. He's either the rat catcher, because I saw him putting a bunch of rats in a bag, or he's like this movie's version of the guy from the Hammer horror movie, the little Igor helper stand-in. He comes inside and he takes a blanket and puts the flames out on Sandor's body and then rescues him. Now, I know you must be asking, Summer, what on earth are you talking about? Who are any of these people? Not a single one of these characters is featured in Gaston Leroux's The Phantom of the Opera. It's set in Hungary and not Paris. There isn't even really rumors about an opera ghost. Someone mentions the opera ghost once in this movie and is summarily dismissed out of hand.
I know all about opera ghosts. Every opera house has at least one. A soprano goes off key, it's the opera ghost again.
To the best of my knowledge, this is the only time the Phantom of the Opera is mentioned in this movie called The Phantom of the Opera. I might be wrong, but I've seen the movie twice now in the past couple weeks, and I'm pretty sure this is the only time he's mentioned.
Hello? Somebody in there?
I have to go. So what story are you even telling me? Rest assured, I had those same questions, and that's because we find ourselves with another late-onset extreme facial disfigurement just as we've seen in the 40s, the 60s, and the 70s. The 1925 in the book, of course, maintained that the Phantom was born with his facial issues. It is now that I will give you trivia point number 2, this time from IMDb. As with most versions, this adaptation bears little resemblance to the Gaston Leroux novel. Oh, you don't say. Are they allergic to book accuracy? Must I keep singing this song? Oh, different men fighting different battles. Both difficult, of course. Just one guy had a beautiful wife and a successful career before everything went awry, and the other never even got a forehead kiss from his own mom. Anyway, mute rat catcher / Igor stand-in rescues the wounded Sandor and brings him deep below the opera where he helps him recuperate and find a mask. We see several mask options, a clown mask, a Mardi Gras mask. But no, our newly minted Phantom's assistant opts for the world's second most unsettling mask. We will see the first later in this movie. And it's this full-face, dark gray mask with an odd, lumpy, almost skin-like texture and realistic shading. And he pairs that with a bucket hat, a big white scarf, and white leather gloves. Sandor and the rat catcher, they put together a pretty nice setup. Lots of candles, a fancy chair, a big organ they stole from upstairs. Again, it's giving Hammer horror. And nobody stops them from their pilfering because the semi-bumbling but still charming inspector can't figure out who the culprit might be.
But we've questioned everyone.
And guess who the inspector is? He is our trivia point number 3. British actor Paul Brook, who played the auctioneer in the 2004 movie musical.
Frighten away the ghost of so many years ago with a little illumination.
Woohoo! 4 years pass after the tragedy of Sandor Corvin and his wife Elena, and the opera is once more putting on Faust. But now, we've got a new conductor, a guy named Michael. He's played by Michael York, he's technically our Raoul, and he's horrible. I do not like his character at all. And we've got a new singer in the opera, a chorus girl who just landed a role as understudy to Madame Bianchi, this film's Carlotta. And who is this precious little ingenue? She's Maria Gianelli. She's not Italian, her parents were. She is actually a spunky American trying to prove herself on the European stages because she knows...
You can't get anywhere in opera unless you make a name for yourself on the continent.
Eagle-eyed viewers may have realized that Maria is played by Jane Seymour, Dr. Quinn Medicine Woman, who also, coincidentally, played the doomed Elena. The only difference between these two women is that instead of gloriously curly 80s blonde hair, she now has gloriously curly 80s brown hair. I cannot possibly imagine how this will affect the plot. There's no way this coincidence will have any bearing on any character's actions going forward, surely. But I thought I'd point it out to you just in case. And as to her being a spunky American, why? I myself am a spunky American. I have nothing against a fellow spunky American gal traveling the world and following her dreams, but sometimes I just wonder if you're going to change the names, the location, the backstory, the motivations of the characters, the dynamics of the relationships between the characters, why are you even calling this Phantom of the Opera? Is it because you like the idea of a madman in a mask in an opera house and you wish you would have thought of it first? Well, you didn't, okay? Gaston Leroux told it first, and he told it better, pal. So maybe you should consider writing a new story, a story that seems like you want to write anyway. You can call it Spooky Guy in the Singing Place, or I Miss My Dead Wife 2, Electric Boogaloo, the night she came back, but she's calling herself Maria now. Tell that story. Since you clearly don't want to tell Gaston Leroux's Phantom of the Opera, I'm getting real sick and tired of these Phantom adapters acting like Eric's lifelong struggle to find even one scrap of kindness in this world, and the madness that lack drove him to, is not as good or compelling an arc as whatever they want to come up with. Well, newsflash, buddy, it usually isn't, because to rewrite Gaston Leroux's arc for the character, they all, for some reason, opt to cut out the Angel of Music plotline, and then we get robbed of critical aspects of both Eric's and Christine's characters, and worst of all, Christine, or whatever they decide to call her, always ends up as this like paper doll character with very little to her beyond her beauty and her role in the Phantom's opera, and that is a bummer because she is a very good character in the book, and I love her. And Maria is no different, and in fact she is perhaps worse. This is what I mean when I say it almost felt like nothing was happening in this movie at all, yet so many strange things were happening all at once. Think about what I've said so far. A guy got hired as a professional clapper, and then his cat was used as bait so his hand could get chopped off, and then we get all this exposition in Maria's introduction when she goes to audition to be Bianchi's understudy.
You're Italian?
My parents came from Italy, but I was born in America.
And then it doesn't matter at all. They don't use those changes to inform anything about her, anything about the story. It doesn't change her journey in a way that's compelling but still mirrors her arc in the book. She just happens to be American now. She has a brash American attitude instead of Book Christine's more whimsical, trusting nature. Why make the change in that case if it's not to highlight an aspect of the story that you want to bring to the forefront? Book Christine's whimsical, trusting nature, wounded by the death of her father, creates the perfect storm of vulnerability and depression that allows the Phantom to manipulate her in the first place as the Angel of Music. I could easily see the correlations between, like, an American girl out of her homeland trying to be brave and like spunky and strong, but finding herself increasingly isolated and an outsider in this opera house full of people who don't know her, who don't want an American intruding into their space. I could see that creating a similar storm of loneliness and frustration that could be utilized by the Phantom to manipulate her. But that's not it. That's not what we get. It just doesn't matter. And that's my problem with these adaptations. This is my problem with some of the changes made in some of the adaptations. Obviously, I'm having the time of my life making all of these videos, so I'm not mad at the adaptations in general. I don't know what I was... How are you alive? And that's my problem with these adaptations. If you're going to make a change of that nature, sure, fine, do it, but do it in a way that respects the spirit of the story and actually have it affect things if you're going to do it. So now, instead of Book Christine getting manipulated because she's in a vulnerable spot, we have brash, bold Mariah, who manipulates the people around her to get what she wants.
Take my turn. I'll wait. Let him hear you before he gets too irritable.
You are very kind, Maria.
She can't sing well enough to play Marguerite, and you know that.
Her voice is better than it sounds.
And that's not what I'm looking for in my Christine or Christine equivalent, but whatever. In the plot in this version is so divorced from the book that at this point, it doesn't even pay alimony. So I'm just going to move on. So, the sinister silhouette of the Phantom's bucket hat lets the audience know that the Phantom knows what we know, that Maria is a dead ringer for his dead wife. Perhaps I was wrong. Perhaps that will come into play. Who could possibly guess? Let's check in with our Raoul and Christine equivalent. So, though Michael and Maria were initially annoyed with each other, Michael, the new conductor, because the upstart American seems to be trying to schmooze him to get on his good side,
I've always admired your productions, Mr. Hartnell.
I doubt if you've seen any of my productions.
and Maria, because he's not responding to her schmoozing.
Aren't you a little chilly?
No?
I thought you might be with, all that naked ambition showing.
The two of them do eventually warm to each other and start to bond. Romantic styles.
A beggar with white gloves. We seem to have got off to a bad start. May we rehearse the scene again? Now, tell me about yourself. Thank you. That was lovely. Thank you so much.
Quick moment to pause. This scene here of her eating a strawberry was pretty much the only thing I remembered about this version. I saw it once, a long time ago, and what I took away from this version was that Dr. Quinn Medicine Woman was in it, and I'd like you to bear in mind that I have never seen a single episode of Dr. Quinn Medicine Woman. I just remember seeing it on the TV once when I was in a different room playing Barbies, and somebody saying, "That's Dr. Quinn Medicine Woman," and then I saw her, and then I saw this, and I said, "That's that lady from that show I never watched but saw over there." Okay? That's my history with Dr. Quinn Medicine Woman. Anyway, Dr. Quinn Medicine Woman was in it, and she ate strawberries in a sassy way. Actually, fun behind-the-scenes fact of 100 Years of Phantom, this version didn't even make it on my list initially because the lists of Phantom adaptations I was using to cross-reference my own memory didn't include it. That's how little well-known and untalked about this version is. So I actually just had the 1989 Robert Englund version scheduled for this month. But as I was going through the list, and I was like, okay, there we've got this one, Robert Englund, we've got the 1990s Charles Dance one. Where's the one where Dr. Quinn eats strawberries? Where's that on there? And then I had to shift everything around and I had to boot Phantom of the Mall to next year because I realized this one actually happened in 1983 and came before the Freddy Krueger one and before the TV miniseries. So this strawberry is the only reason any of us are watching this. So I was glad when I saw this scene again and I was like, yep, that's it. That's the sassy strawberry eating I remember. But those sassy strawberries are not eaten unobserved. And after that delightful evening on the town, which has resulted in ruffled feathers being smoothed and a new, hopeful outlook for the upcoming Faust, as Michael and Maria have a good rehearsal.
Remember to breathe.
The good times come to an abrupt end when the prima donna receives a mysterious note. The note says, "Swans sing. Swans sing before they die. 'Twould be no bad thing if prima donnas died before they sang.
Orpheus! Mannaggia!
Signed, Orpheus." Signed, Orpheus. If you wanted to write a modern-day Orpheus and Eurydice set in an opera house, you could have done that without trying to pass it off as Phantom of the Opera. Whatever. I don't care. I do, but I can't anymore. Maria is blamed for the note and kicked out of the opera. And this is when the Phantom presents himself to Maria. It's quite the introduction. He starts by playing an eerie, scratchy recording of his dead wife singing. This music comes from seemingly nowhere, which of course unnerves Maria. Then he proceeds to turn out the lights, unnerving her further. Once the mood is set, the atmosphere created, he slides into view and opens with, "Does the mask scare you?"
The mask frightens you.
Follows that up with, "The mask is here to protect you."
Who are you?
The mask protects you.
And wraps up his intro by ripping the head off a baby doll. Sure, the baby doll's head was already loose because that's where Maria hid all her money, and he was trying to make the point that she wouldn't need such paltry loose cash now that he was here to help her, but still, insane behavior.
You have a natural gift. Listen to this voice. It can be yours.
All I can say is, as an American woman myself, I would have had a significant reaction to this man's tomfoolery, and I would have had to introduce him to Wild and West. Maria? Oh, she doesn't do anything. She doesn't scream. She doesn't get scared. She does say,
No, don't.
when he tries to take her money, but that's it. And when this masked man invites her to stay in his home where he'll give her music lessons for free, she takes the key.
Here, take this key. You'll find everything you need while you're studying. Your hand is trembling. That's a wonderful sign.
You want to know what would have really set this up in a way that made sense? That made sense why she would be willing to be manipulated by this masked guy? I don't know, giving her a sense of sadness and loneliness and vulnerability that made her easy prey to be manipulated on, instead of her being a calculating, sassy lady who is not having a normal human reaction to a masked guy showing up in her room. Oh, and he took her money. He never gave it back to her. He just gave her the key. And sure, yeah, that's a smart move if you're evil and you want to force someone to be dependent on you. But he specifically says, as he takes the money out of the baby doll's neck, I'm not here to steal your money.
I'm not here to steal your pitiful savings.
And then he steals her money. And sure, we could say there's lots of different fear responses. Fight, flight, fawn, freeze, and Maria is probably freezing in this moment because a man in the world's second most unsettling mask just walked into her room, ripped a head off a baby doll, and stole her money. Anybody could freeze in that moment. Sure. But what you haven't considered is that this movie was kind of disappointing and it doesn't have a lot of behind the scenes, so there's not trivia to go into and there's no real explanation into why they made some of the decisions they made. So I'm gonna nitpick. After this strange interaction, our remarkably level-headed Maria does as the mystery man instructed. Again, me personally speaking as a spunky American woman, I would have tried to talk to the managers. I would have tried to get my job back. I would have tried to arrange for transportation to get out of town. Well, he did steal her money, so maybe that's why she does what he says. Whatever, she goes to the address he gave. I personally would not pursue the man in the mask unless I was pursuing him with cops in tow. That's just me. I don't want to get murdered. She goes to the address he gave, opens the door, finds herself in Sandor and Elena's home. Not that she knows that. All she knows is that there is a closet full of clothes that are just her size. There are pictures of a woman that looks exactly like her. And the guy in the bucket hat and horrible mask, second most unsettling mask he could have chosen, tells her he wants to wear the clothes he provides when they are at their lessons.
I want you to wear these clothes while we are rehearsing.
And she still remains completely unfazed.
It's wonderful. Nobody in the company would believe I live here.
Ground rules are:
you will tell no one about me. You will bring no one to this place.
Wear the clothes he wants her to wear, dedicate her days to him and her lessons, but she can take her nights for herself. He does not care what she does in the evenings, and in return, he will give her lessons and she can live in this beautiful house. And so she agrees. She says, sure, whatever. You haven't given me any good reason for the fact that you're wearing a mask, and also you have pictures of who I can only assume is me, but blonde for some reason, and all these clothes fit, but whatever. I'll take what I can get. So the two of them start to rehearse. Until the lead soprano sprays poison throat spray in her throat, courtesy of the Phantom, and Maria gets her job back.
Hey, look at that. Look at that right there. This isn't even government-sanctioned trivia. I've just used my eyes. I just used my eyes and I put together clues. And I think, from the bottom of my heart, that this was intentional. I wish I could confirm for sure. I wish I could confirm for sure, but I like to think in my heart of hearts that they said, hey, how about for this one, we go a little Mary Philbin with it? How about we go a little Mary Philbin with it? How about we go a little first Christine ever put to screen Mary Philbin with it? One hopes. One can never know for sure.
And then, once she has her job back, she starts breaking those very simple ground rules. Everybody just keeps doing stuff in the day. He said, Days are mine, nights are yours, you can do whatever you want. But everybody in this movie keeps doing stuff in the day. The Phantom keeps lurking on the roof of the opera in broad daylight. Maria and Michael break the Phantom's rules by canoodling in the daytime. And it's daytime when those two treat each other like ladies of the night. The Phantom knows all about this flagrant disregard of his rules, of course, because he stumbles upon their very public daytime tryst that even the statues are judging. Best clip in the movie, honestly. And sure, Maria keeps the secret of who her friend is, even though Michael is clearly starting to get jealous of this other man she's spending time with. But that's not enough to keep her from getting cut off, because the next time she tries to go to the house where she's been rehearsing and living with her masked maestro, the Phantom of the Opera, the doors are locked because she's a sneaky little rule breaker who got caught out, so she slides a note under the locked door asking the Phantom to meet her at the masked ball. Meanwhile, just before she invites the Phantom to the masked ball, but after she and Michael treated each other like ladies of the night in the middle of the day, the Phantom follows Michael to an exceedingly packed bathhouse in his full Phantom uniform. I'm talking mask, bucket hat, long black jacket, white gloves with the rings on top, moving through gaggles of naked men in this big, communal, steaming hot tub. Don't worry, you can't see anything, both because this is a made-for-TV movie and because the footage has the quality of something streamed on a string bean, but nobody bats an eye at his strange, unseasonably warm getup for this location, and he sneaks up behind and proceeds to strangle a very naked Michael with his scarf, threatening to kill Michael if he ever goes near Maria again. And Michael? He takes this to heart. Why? Well, because I don't think he really cares that much about Maria. I think the two of them are just using each other for pleasure and career advancement. Michael is not Lon Chaney, the sweet little boy who ran into the sea to save Christine's scarf. He isn't even Harry Hunter, Hammer Horror's take on Raoul, who was in a similar creative position at the opera as producer to Michael's role as conductor. Harry Hunter was at least charming and kind. Michael is just sort of rude. And at the first hint of danger against himself and his lady love, does he selflessly try to protect her? No, he yells at her during rehearsal and then gives her role back to Madame Bianchi.
Miss Gianelli, what was that supposed to be? And you perform like a fashion mannequin calling a cab to take you to the hairdressers. I just don't think you can do it. There are no great directors without great singers performing for them, and you're not one of them yet. I shall advise the Baron to postpone your debut. So get off my stage until you learn how to perform on it.
Boo! And thus we find ourselves at the masked ball, also known as a masquerade. Hooray for even one shred at an attempt at book accuracy, but these people couldn't even call it the same thing. At the ball, the Baron tries to proposition Maria, as it is his duty, apparently, as a patron of the opera.
If your new friend does not appear, I would like to take you home. It could be a great help in your career. Should you change your mind, my motor car will be waiting outside.
He must be skeevy to every potential leading lady or they'll strip him of his titles and lands. Maria politely refuses and then swirls away to go dance. What follows is a masked ball sequence that I would call a ripoff of the masked ball from Labyrinth if this movie didn't predate Labyrinth by 3 years.
Are you suggesting that Jim Henson's Labyrinth stole its masquerade scene from this made-for-TV 1983 version of Phantom of the Opera?
No, I wouldn't be your sister that is dishonest.
I'm talking slow motion. I'm talking swirling dresses and close-ups of masks. I'm talking a guy in a penguin costume.
Can't you be more original?
Actually, there is no Labyrinth parallel to the guy in the penguin costume. He's a 1983 made-for-TV Phantom of the Opera original. He's anachronistic and insanely prominent. I don't know what party city they rented the costume from, why, or who signed off on it, but the Penguin of the Opera really existed. He was not, as long believed, a creature of the imagination of the artists, the superstition of the managers, or the product of the absurd and impressionable brains of the young ladies of the ballet, their mothers, the box keepers. He was real, and there was no escaping him, just as there is no escaping the Phantom of the Opera. Because, suddenly, from all around her, Maria starts hearing her own name in whispered echoes.
Hooray, 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 hooray.
And she keeps catching sight of the world's most unsettling mask. I promised you we'd see it. But loses sight of the man as she's tossed from partner to partner to penguin to partner. Until, finally, she finds herself in the strange whisperer's arms, her maestro's arms, and wouldn't you know it, she has a little look of surprise on her face, even though she invited him to the masked ball! I'm choosing to let it go. I am choosing to not care. So, as they dance, the Phantom looks at her through the empty sockets of the world's most unsettling mask. It's a realistic, skin-toned mask of his own face that is completely expressionless, but otherwise uncannily normal looking, aside from the fact that it gives him a very high, scholarly forehead. In fact, both masks give him a high, scholarly forehead. And you would think that this one, realistic as it is, would be less horrible than the dead gray mask with its mottled skin texture, but it's not. It's not. It's worse, and it's horrible to see. Anyway, he's like, "You're never allowed to see Michael again, or I'll kill him. If I see you with any man at all, I'll kill Michael then too. You belong to me. Blah, 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 blah." I realize now, upon writing and filming this, that he might have meant that he would kill any future men he saw Maria with.
You'll never see him again. If you ever see him, Maria, you will die. You see any other man, he will die.
But I think it's funnier if he's just like, "Hey, I see you with that Michael guy again. Curtains. I see you with any men again. Curtains for Michael still. He's not getting out of this."
You will be with me forever.
And so, Maria weasels out of his arms and runs away, hopping into the Baron's car, since he promised her a ride home if she wanted it. But the Baron directs the driver to his house or his club or something instead of her home.
Castle Hunyadi.
You offered to drive me home.
But worry not for her virtue. Worry not! For the rat catcher is driving the Baron's car, and he takes them all down to the Phantom's lair. And so, there they all are, standing in front of a small gate deep in an underground tunnel, and the Phantom is like, "Mahaha, it is I, Sandor Corvin, your old conductor and beloved husband of Elena, and I'm finally here to exact my revenge on you."
What is it that you wish from me?
To avenge the death of Elena Corvin.
And the Baron's like, "Who?"
I don't understand.
And in response, the Phantom lightly touches Maria's face and is like,
Remember.
And for some inexplicable reason, it is this that sets Maria off. Not turning the lights off in her dressing room and ripping a baby doll's head off. Not the picture of his dead wife who was her identical twin and making her wear his dead wife's clothes, which, to be fair, she might not have known belonged to his dead wife, but, you know, in that case, he just had a picture of you and your exact measurements, which is equally bad or perhaps worse. No, it's his lightly touching her face and saying,
Remember.
That sends her screaming down the corridor, pushing past homeless people living in the sewers, and jumping into the sewer water herself. Before she finally stops screaming and tries to quietly sneak up the stairs. Please look at this stair footage. It looks like GoPro footage in a ghost hunting show. But despite all her mad efforts to escape, the Phantom is waiting to chloroform her at the top of the stairs, and she wakes in the Phantom's lair. Just a reminder of Trivia Point 1, the Phantom's lair was filmed in the storage area beneath a Hungarian brewery. You know what? They've got cool storage areas beneath Hungarian breweries, in my humble opinion. To wrap up the fate of Baron Hunyadi, he attempts to smooth talk his way out of the lair, and it almost seems like it might work because he's like, if you let me do XYZ, I will make sure that Elena is immortal in the annals of opera history, or something like that. And so the Phantom's like, immortal.
Immortal.
And then releases the Baron from his bonds, returns the Baron to his car, and then the Phantom sicks his trained crow on the Baron. And the Baron gets pecked to death. You remember in the book when the Phantom has a trained crow he can sick on people? That's a part of the book that happened. And so we leave Maria in the lair, unconscious, and the Phantom playing his organ to briefly check in with Michael, who has decided to not be a complete tool and is worried that Maria has disappeared. He overhears some cleaning women talking about the late conductor Sandor Corvin and his beautiful dead wife who looked exactly like Maria, and wheels start to turn in Michael's head. So he starts doing some investigating and eventually meets up with the inspector/auctioneer from the 2004 movie musical to share his findings. The auctioneer-inspector, however, has little interest to spare in the case, as most of his attention is currently split between responding to Michael and telling his sassy little boy child to
Janos, leave some for Papa.
And tells Michael that Maria's probably dead and they'll find her body soon. Meanwhile, back at the ranch, of course in this scenario being the Phantom's underbrewery lair, the Phantom has changed Christine into the most 80s white dress and jewelry anyone's ever seen. So, as I have mentioned several times, this movie has completely disregarded Gaston Leroux's The Phantom of the Opera in every single possible way, save for the fact that there is a masked musician causing problems in an opera house where Faust is being performed. And it's not good. It's not fun, the pacing is weird, the script is strange, the dynamic and interactions between the characters seems off, as does the way people act in response to certain situations. And there's weird editing and strange camera choices. So you would think, having dined on nothing but disappointed hopes, that I would be hungry for even a scrap of substance or the merest decorative scraping of anything even resembling book accuracy. But when I tell you that in the midst of all this nothing, I suddenly found myself watching one of, if not the most book-accurate unmasking scenes to ever grace my screen, I was nothing but insulted. I was insulted because the unmasking scene in the book and the Phantom's subsequent crash out is one of the most impactful scenes in the novel. It's not just the unmasking of the man, but also the unmasking of the mystery. It's the culmination of the story so far, the reveal of the true stakes. Once Christine tells Raoul what happened in the house by the lake, the tenor of the story shifts. It's like watching the 5th episode of The Haunting of Hill House when you discover the truth behind the bent neck lady. The events that follow are still frightening, but you understand them better. You see them in a clearer light. The depth of Eric's obsession with Christine, the depths of his despair and self-hatred, all revealed in this unmasking. And we see the same level of unhinged honesty from Eric in the final lair scene, where a desperate Phantom, in his mad quest to force Christine to either marry him or blow up the opera house, reveals that all he wants is to be a man like other men, with a wife he could love and take for walks on Sundays, which is, in my opinion, one of the most heartbreaking lines in the book. So, when this Phantom, who up until this point in the movie has borne no resemblance to the Phantom of the novel in any way, shape, or form outside of the fact that he wears a mask, different name, different origins, different reasons for wearing the mask, calls himself Orpheus instead of OG for Opera Ghost or even P of the Opera, has a Maria instead of a Christine, doesn't care about his Christine stand-in outside of her resemblance to his late wife, and who had a successful career and a loving wife at all, says,
Now I want to live like all the others.
No.
I want to have a woman.
No.
And walk with her on Sundays.
Stop it. I was livid. You were married. You had a wife. You walked around any day of the week you wanted to with her up until 4 years ago. And sure, I can sympathize with wanting that back, but that line, a line that is devastating in the book, is completely stripped of its meaning in this movie because this movie has done nothing to make a line like that matter. And the movie keeps doing this. It cherry picks the best, most impactful lines from the book and uses them as if it's earned them. It's like someone checked the book out 3/4 of the way through writing the screenplay and was like, oh, we should probably use some of this. There's some good stuff in here. Or even worse, it's like someone read the book and hated every single part of it except the lines they cherry picked and decided they could do a better job. Hey, crew. Hey, squad. Hey, angels of music. What up, team? What I realized as I was writing the script is that the diabolical cherry picking in this movie was too detailed and nuanced to simply break down in words. So what I'm going to do instead is a little bit of a live reaction. I've got the movie queued up to the beginning of the scene where they launch their volley of diabolical cherry picking. I don't think volley and cherry picking are two verbs that can go together, but I'm going to use it here because it's an onslaught of them taking the best lines from both the unmasking scene and the final lair and tossing them into the movie as if they can just land in there and make sense when they took away all the structural support that made them dynamic and important lines in the book. Yes, I know it sounded cool and felt impactful when you read it in Gaston Leroux's novel. Doesn't mean you can just take the same words and put them in there with no context. Sorry, I feel very passionate about this. So you know what? Yeah, a volley of cherry picking is what this is, because they're picking cherries. They're saying, what a beautiful cherry. What a beautiful piece of fruit I have in my hands. And then they're throwing it. Then they're throwing it at you, and you're saying, stop it. Stop. What are you doing? We're at the orchard, Richard. Richard, we're supposed to be having a nice day at the orchard. You have to stop throwing cherries at me. Who is Richard? Why would he do this when he took me to the orchard for our special day? Anyway, got the movie queued up to the volley of diabolical cherry picking. I'm going to live react to it, and anytime I see them use a line without the proper context and it insults my honor, I will pause the movie and I will find the quote. And that's what we're going to do here. It's going to be chopped up for you. It's going to be chopped up for you due to copyright reasons. There it is. There's that joke finished. Okay, cool. All right, let the volley of diabolical cherry picking begin.
I'm not evil. Believe me. In my heart, I'm good.
Okay, he says, I'm not evil. Believe me. In my heart, I'm good. Chapter 23, Inside the Torture Chamber, The Persian's Tale Continued. We're about right here. It says, you're crying, you're afraid of me, but I'm not a bad man. Love me and you'll see. To be good and kind, all I ever needed was to be loved. If you loved me, I would be as gentle as a lamb, and you could do with me whatever you wanted. So specifically, the part that I feel was cherry-picked was the but I'm not a bad man. And in other translations, this is of course the David Coward translation. In other translations, like what you can find on Project Gutenberg, which is typically the D'Amatos translation, it says, you're crying, you are afraid of me, and yet I am not really wicked. Love me and you shall see. All I wanted was to be loved for myself. So I'm not really wicked, to be good and kind. Cherry-picked. Cherry-picked, I say.
Now I
I want to be like all the others, have a woman, and walk with her on Sundays. Okay, we're in chapter 24 now. What I'm finding is a lot of these lines are actually pulled from the finale, not the unmasking. So chapter 24, the torture begins. This is after Eric kind of explains what his torture chamber is, the illusion of the forest. And he says, "That's why I call my forest a torture chamber. Do you follow? It's a joke. It's all a joke. I don't say things the way other people do. I don't do anything like other people, but I'm so tired of it, exhausted, weary of having a forest and a torture chamber inside my house, of living here like a great magician inside a box with a false bottom. I've had enough of it all. I want a quiet apartment with ordinary doors and windows and a loving wife in it, just like other men. Surely you can understand that, Christine. I shouldn't need to keep on repeating it. A wife, like other men, a wife I could love. I'd take her out for walks every Sunday and make her laugh on all the other days of the week. There'd never be a dull moment." This guy says he wants a woman and he'd take her out for walks on Sunday. This sad man says, and let me repeat, a wife I could love, I'd take her out for walks every Sunday and make her laugh on all the other days of the week. That was another example of the cherry picking that ripped all the beautiful context away. Let's continue.
Our life will begin now. Only love me. Don't be afraid. I only have to be loved. To be good.
Just love me. Believe me, I only have to be loved to be good. So not only are we cherry picking, we're breaking the lines apart to further rip them from their meaning. So let me just flip back to where I was. Let me just read that to you again. You're crying, you're afraid of me, but I'm not a bad man. Love me and you'll see. To be good and kind, all I ever needed was to be loved. If you loved me, I would be as gentle as a lamb, and you could do with me whatever you wanted. Here, remember, if you'll recall the context, we're dealing with a man who has never known kindness from anybody in the world except maybe the Daroga who saved his life, and now he has fallen in love with a very kind woman who he has no chance with, honestly, because he's crazy and he's a murderer. All right, we don't want Christine to end up with the Phantom, but we can feel bad for him along the way, and I do feel bad for him. And in this scene, he's like, please, the one plight of my entire life is that I have never been loved, and that is all I want in this world is to be loved. Love me, and you'll see. To be good and kind, all I ever needed was to be loved. And that's sad. Does it justify his actions? No, of course not. But it's sad. It's compelling. Dare I say it's the sauce. This Joker, with his deeply unsettling mask with the high scholarly forehead, is saying, love me and see, all I ever needed to be kind was to be loved. You were loved. You were loved, Sandor. You had your wife who loved you. You had parents who apparently loved you enough to put you through school to get you the education you needed to become a well-known and respected conductor of the Hungarian opera. So what are you talking about? You were loved. You had those good morals instilled in you. You had all the support you needed to have a successful life and a loving wife and a good career and all the things that Book Eric was denied. And yeah, your heart got broken. Your wife died. That's very, very sad. But that is no excuse for what you've been doing. You are on a path of revenge. And you can't throw around the all I ever needed was to be loved, to be good. Well, you should be good now. What happened? What, did all your wife's love dry up? She didn't instill anything, any hope in you that you want to work hard and be good in her memory? You don't want to live a good life and be an honest, kind man in Elena's memory? You want to throw your life in the garbage and treat her love like dirt because you're mad? Yeah, get revenge, sure, if that's what you want to do, but don't go to Maria. Don't go to Maria and be like, all I need to be good is to be loved. Liar! Liar! All you need to be good is to stop doing evil things. Have you ever considered maybe just not being evil? I can understand a man's quest for revenge. I say that abstractly because I'm a woman. If I needed revenge, I'd do something womanly about it. And that's clearly what he's on. But don't throw the excuse at me that all you need to be good is to be loved, when you could be doing good deeds and acting like a kind and honest man in sweet Elena's memory, but instead you're murdering people with crows and using cats as bait to cut off Clapper's hands. That just sounds like stuff you wanted to do because you were angry. Doesn't sound like somebody who's been starved of love their entire life and it's driven them to anger, bitterness, and madness, and a desperate grasp at what they see as their one chance at any semblance of joy or happiness. I feel pity for him. I feel nothing for you. I feel nothing for you, Sandor. You're nothing. Don't really need a book for this. He is unmasked, and he looks like Lon Chaney. But why does he look like Lon Chaney? Do you have something to add? Why would a man with acid burns look like Lon Chaney's version of the Phantom of the Opera, who was supposed to look like book-accurate Eric, who had a death's head and looked like a living skeleton? Why would you give him living skeleton makeup? I just don't understand. Okay, let's see if there's anything else.
All right. You wanted to see it. See it. See it. Look at me. Look at me!
Here we're starting to get... Now this, honestly, we're getting into territory I have never seen put to film, which is like almost 100% book-accurate unmasking. One difference being in the book, he's like all up in Christine's face in this scene. And here, he ran briefly away to go cower in a corner, and now he's coming back and he's screaming, "You wanted to see, look at me. Don't look away, look at me." But let's resume.
Look at me! You want to see what's behind it? Perhaps another mask. A mask behind a mask. You cannot tear this one off. That's me. Me. Give me your hand. Touch it. Touch it! It's real. It's not a different mask. It's me.
We're at the unmasking scene in the chapter Apollo's Lyre. In the book, he says, "You wanted to see, go on, feast your eyes, gorge your soul on my cursed ugliness." Or in some other translations, he says, "Feast your eyes, glut your soul on my cursed ugliness," which is a banger of a line and goes a million times harder than just repeating the words, look at me. So you're cherry picking, but you're not even cherry picking the best lines from it. You're just, oy. Okay, so there's that. And keep in mind, he says, "He came up close and I heard his teeth grind, for his mouth had no lips. I sank onto my knees while in a voice full of hate he hissed deranged words. He leaned over me." Meanwhile, Sandor Corvin is like 8 miles away across the room screaming, Hey, look at me. You wanted to see? Look at me. Don't look away.
Look at me. Look at me!
But you're so far. What if she needs glasses? We know canonically she needs glasses. Okay, so he's like,
You want to see what's behind it? Perhaps another mask.
Here's another issue with the setup of Maria Gianelli. They made her such a non-reactive character where she didn't even question the fact that this man had a mask. It didn't even become a topic of conversation, and he never gave any reason for it that we saw because, again, they trained via montage. So we don't know anything about their working relationship. Is this something she's been curious about? Is this something she's been asking? He's saying that as if the mask has been a point of contention between the two of them. In the book, when Eric gets Christine down to the house by the lake and she's like, holy cow, you're a dude and you're not the angel of music. He's like, I am a dude. You're never going to see behind the mask. As long as you don't touch my mask, you'll be fine. This guy's like, hi, I have money, a house full of my dead wife's clothes, and I'm going to give you lessons because I stole all of the money you had saved in your baby doll's head. I want you to go to this address and we'll train together. Maria doesn't question any of this. She goes along willingly, and we never see her mention the mask. And the only time he mentions the mask is when he walks out of the shadows just before he rips her baby doll's head off and says,
The mask frightens you. The mask protects you. Hey, I'm taking off baby doll's heads here. Hey, watch it. I'm taking off baby doll's heads.
And then it's never mentioned again. That's it. Neither one of them ever brings it up again. So, yeah, she pulls the mask off. It's an unmasking scene. We're watching, supposedly, an adaptation of The Phantom of the Opera. And he's like, oh, you wanted to see? You wanted to see what was behind here? You've always been curious, blah, 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 blah. When was it established that she was curious?
You cannot tear this one off. That's me. Me.
Okay. Now we've got him saying, look at it, do you think it's another mask? No, it's not, it's me. Another example of them cherry picking and then dulling the lines down from the better original version. If you're gonna go with the text, why aren't you? Let's compare. Let's compare to what they cherry picked. They cherry picked and they pared down. Well, he hissed. Frighten you, do I? Maybe I do. Maybe you think I'm still wearing a mask, eh? That this, my head is a mask. Well then, and he began to shout, pull it off like you did the other one. Come on, do it again. I insist. Now let's continue.
Give me your hand. Touch it. It's me.
He goes from it's me, it's my mask, it's me, to give me your hands, touch it, you'll see, it's me, it's not a mask, it's me, it's not a mask, it's me. That's basically what he says, right? And I have been waiting for this scene specifically to be put to screen. I had forgotten that this scene was even in this movie at all. And so it was a shock and surprise when I was like, holy cow, it's the scene with the hands, because I find this diabolical and terrifying. Here we have, well then, he began to shout, pull it off like you did the other one. Come on, do it again, I insist. Use your hands, both of them. Give me your hands. If they're not up to it, you can borrow mine. We'll pull it off together. I rolled up into a ball at his feet, but he grabbed both my hands, Raoul, and dug them into the horror that was his face, and raked his flesh with my nails, his loathsome, dead flesh. So, that's scarier. I've been waiting for that to be put to screen, mostly because I think this is the scariest part of the book. Weak sauce over here. Weak sauce, touch it, it's me. Somebody is self-absorbed. That's all I have to say. So stupid. All right, let's get into the worst offender.
It's a ghost who loves you. A ghost that adores you. Now I must haunt you always.
He says, it's a ghost that adores you. Nothing else, really. Then he stands up and he says, now I must haunt you. Again, it's not just the cherry picking, but it's the cherry picking, the lack of context, and the paring down and simplifying of these lines into things that just aren't as good. Let's take it back to the source. "Listen and learn," he cried from deep in his chest, which heaved like a blacksmith's bellows. "Learn that I am made entirely of death, from head to foot, that you are loved by a corpse who adores you and will never leave you again, ever. I shall make a bigger coffin, Christine, for later, when we have come to the end of loving. Ah, see, I am not laughing now. I am crying, weeping for you, Christine, who pulled off my mask and can therefore never leave again. As long as you could think I was handsome, Christine, you might have come back. I knew you would come back. But now that you've seen me in all my ugliness, you'll go and never return. So I intend to keep you here." First off, what does he mean it's a ghost that loves you? What does that man mean, that it's a ghost that loves you? You never even claimed to be supernatural with her. You never even tried to be an angel of music. You never even tried to be a ghost. You literally were just a man in a mask with no ghostly attributes or even trying to be ghostly, and all of a sudden it's a ghost that loves you and now must haunt you? You haven't earned. Mr. Skeleton, Death's Head incarnate, living corpse, no nose, hollow hunkin' eyes, hollow sunken eyes. That's a corpse that loves her and will never ever leave her. You're just a dude who she has a working business relationship with, and you're hung up on her because she looks like your dead wife. You're not a ghost. That line doesn't make sense. You haven't earned it. This movie hasn't earned any of its Leroux lines. It hasn't earned it. It doesn't have the context to support it. So let's just see if there's any more.
There's no chance anymore. You would leave me forever. A woman that has seen me like this belongs to me, to me, to me!
There was a chance I would have let you go. I can never leave. A woman who has seen my face belongs to me, to me, to me, to me. This man only cares about himself. Let's see. Look at him. Don Juan triumphant. Here we go. Here's that actual line. One, this line comes before he says, "This is a corpse that loves you and adores you and will never ever leave you." It in fact happens right after the unmasking, right after the "look at me, you wanted to see, feast your eyes, glut your soul." He says, "Are you satisfied? I make a handsome specimen, don't I? Once a woman has seen me as you have, she is mine. She loves me forever." Once more, he says, "Once a woman has seen me like this, she belongs to me forever." And Eric says, "Once a woman has seen me as you have, she is mine. She loves me forever." I'm not trying to say that the Phantom of the Opera is some paragon of virtue, okay? I'm not saying that he's a good option or that he's a good guy. All I'm saying is that he keeps circling back to love because that is the great gaping void in his poor, sad heart. He just wants to be loved. This dude just loves himself. What do you mean? Like, what is happening here? That I'm comparing a line saying, "When a woman has seen me as you have, she is mine. She loves me forever," and holding that as a better option to "once a woman has seen me, she belongs to me, to me, to me." This guy didn't say anything about love at all. Till he called himself a ghost, unearned. I think that's it. I think the scene's done. Okay. Those are the cherry-picked lines. That was excruciating and hard to witness. Do you get what I'm saying? Do you understand what I mean? My thing is, like, I love an adaptation. Clearly, I've spent so many hours this year focusing on these adaptations. And like, while I would love a perfect book-accurate adaptation, I'm still hoping that Guillermo del Toro circles around with Jamie Campbell Bower to play the Phantom and makes either a really good movie or an 8 to 10 episode miniseries adaptation of Phantom of the Opera, because I feel like if anybody could do it, Guillermo del Toro could do it. I think the reason there are so many Phantom adaptations is because they keep making them, but none of them have book accuracy and the sauce. This version is so frustrating because it has neither. Like, it is masquerading as an adaptation of Phantom of the Opera, but it is not actually Phantom of the Opera. Maybe in a grand meta scheme of things, it's masquerading as the Phantom of the Opera the way the Phantom of the Opera masqueraded as the Angel of Music, but now that we've unmasked it, we see that it's just, I miss my dead wife 2, Electric Boogaloo, the night she came back, but she's calling herself Maria now. It's not Phantom of the Opera. And so it's frustrating when you see them disrespect the spirit of the story and alter the story beyond recognition to the point where it's not even adapting the book. And then it turns around and starts pulling the best lines out of the source material and throwing them in without any support or context to give them the depth and meaning that the rest of the book lends to them. Like, the reason those lines are so strong is everything leading up to it and everything we know about the characters. So that it just, do you get it? Are you walking with me? Are we holding hands in a park, walking down a beautiful sidewalk, and is it Sunday? Like, are we married right now, and do you understand me? Okay. I hope you enjoyed our Sunday walk. So there's this pocket, an hour and 15 minutes into this hour and 34-minute long movie, where all of a sudden, I'm finally watching Phantom of the Opera, and none of it makes any sense. I mean, his unmasked face even resembles Lon Chaney's Phantom makeup, which is, thus far, the most book-accurate Death's Head makeup we've been given. Please allow me to interrupt my rant for trivia point 4. The Phantom's makeup is the work of effects artist Stan Winston. You did a great job, Stan, even if what you did makes no logical sense in the context of this version of Phantom. And you know what? Let's throw trivia point 5 in as well, just to round that out. Maximilian Schell was known for chewing the scenery on occasion regarding his performances. He did the same thing in Phantom of the Opera. And you know what? Yeah! Now that the mask's off, he's leering, and he's lurking, and he's giving it his all. He's watching her from his giant throne while she scurries around like a little rat princess who was never allowed to eat cheese.
Good morning. I haven't had a chance to put my makeup on, but I just realized as I was editing that I had forgotten something during the cherry picking scenes last night, and that is that Maria burns his mask, and they did it again! They did it again!
Context for what happens in the book. Christine rips the Phantom's mask off. He loses his ever-loving mind. And then after he loses his ever-loving mind for like 2 hours screaming in her face, he crawls away like a disgusting lizard. We covered that in the Phantom of the Paradise video. She goes into her room and is contemplating various sad methods to get out of this situation when she hears his Don Juan triumphant. And it is so beautiful and sad and angry and full of pain that she can suddenly like look past everything that just happened and she understands him and she's able to sympathize with him again. It's the sauce. It's that mix. So she's like, hold on. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go into the room and I'm going to say, hey, your music is beautiful. My bad for freaking out about your face. From here on out, I don't even want you to wear the mask. If you see me shudder, it is shuddering. I'm shuddering from your genius. And so from that point on, she like for the next 2 weeks that she's down there, she keeps being like, I'm totally chill with your face. I'm totally cool with your face. Your face is not a problem for me, to the point where she actually burns his mask. Her doing this is absolutely her move to be like, I am going to try and get out of this situation, and it is her trying to be smart and trying to survive. So when she burns the mask, it is from a place of, see, I don't care anymore. I care so little, I've burned your mask. You know what? I don't mind at all. Which leads to the Phantom trusting her enough to let her leave his underground lair instead of like locking her down there forever in that moment. So she buys herself some time with that move. All right, so that's all fine and good. Now we've got Rat Princess who's never eaten cheese. And listen, for some reason the phrase Rat Princess who has never eaten cheese fits that scene so perfectly that I can't not say it, but I know that that's like a warning bell in the distance clanging warning us all that Rat Phantom is approaching. It's happening in November if I keep to my schedule. So hear those ominous warning bells tolling in the distance, but know that this has nothing to do with that. Just her behavior, the way she scurries. The only fitting term I could think of was rat princess who's never been allowed to eat cheese. So, warning bells aside, she like angrily eats her little piece of bread, tosses it, and he's like meh, 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 from the throne, and then she runs over to the bed, takes his mask, and throws it as a way to annoy him. That's one way to approach it, and I, as an American woman myself, I would say that's probably the most American woman thing she's done. But I don't know, it just bothers me that they're like, oh, well, Christine burns the mask in the book. And then they didn't look at anything around it to be like, why did she burn the mask? What was she trying to accomplish with the mask? And instead of it being like her being smart and being very clever and maneuvering in such a way that she is able to gain his trust so that she can put distance between them. Like, this is smart survival stuff that she's doing in that scene. But instead, for her to just toss it into the fire as a way to annoy him, why did these people even want to make Phantom of the Opera? I don't even think Andrew Lloyd Webber, like, I'll confirm here real fast, but I'm pretty sure Andrew Lloyd Webber's musical didn't come out for a year or two. So, like, was it because Andrew Lloyd Webber's musical was coming out and they wanted to capitalize on that popularity by butchering the story? Is that what they wanted to do? I don't understand. Nope. Looks like they just butchered it for fun. And honestly, I wish they would have let him chew the scenery more. If the movie in general would have put this level of energy into the rest of the film, both acting and book accuracy, then we could have had something great. But instead, we're left with this convoluted mishmash of plot points aping Phantom of the Opera, but telling an entirely different story. Let's wrap this up. Sandor starts calling Maria Elena. She says, I'm not Elena. He says, are you sure?
Are you so sure?
What do you mean? Such a child. Strange to see.
And pulls a sheet off a body now dressed in Maria's masquerade costume. He leaves Maria feeling spooked and perhaps going a little cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs as the reality of her situation starts fully setting in, singing in his big fancy chair with the rat catcher as her guard while he goes to dump the body somewhere it will be discovered and Maria will be officially declared dead.
Sing!
But because she's singing, Michael, who to his credit is still looking for her, is able to follow her voice to the lair and is like, hey, Maria, it's me, let's go.
Maria! It's all right. It's me, Michael.
And then the Phantom, of course, kills the rat catcher in retaliation. So, Maria goes to the opera, either as bait to draw the Phantom out, or maybe just to see the show. I don't know. It doesn't really matter. And when Maria starts hearing the Maria, 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 she gets out of her box seat and switches spots with the inspector, who was sitting directly beneath the chandelier. So, now, we've got Maria sitting directly beneath the chandelier as the Phantom crawls onto it and starts sawing at the chain. I don't think I'm painting you a clear enough picture. The Phantom is standing on / hanging from the central chain of the chandelier, and he is reaching above his head to saw at the chain, meaning he is going to fall with the chandelier. I cannot fathom why he does this, but in any case, he realizes too late that Maria is below him and now in danger. The chain snaps, the chandelier falls, and I was like, oh my gosh, are they actually going to kill the Phantom and Christine in this version? Are they going to kill Christine? No, but only because the chandelier suddenly takes on the same slow-motion physics most often found in clips of Indian soap operas. and falls so slowly that Christine has time to stand up, scream, waffle back and forth several times on which direction she'll go, get stuck behind some people, and finally get pulled to safety by Michael before the chandelier falls the, I don't know, maybe 8 to 12 feet it was hanging above the ground. The Phantom falls to what I can only assume is his death, or more like a broken leg or two and possibly a concussion, because again, the chandelier was maybe 8 to 12 feet off the ground and he was standing vertically, and we get a shot of his imitation Chaney makeup and then the mask. The end. Rankings. There are 6 elements I will be basing this accuracy on. Overall adherence of the plot to the source material, 30%. Not accurate. It wasn't accurate at all. I will give it 1 point for the one scene where it decided to even flirt with the idea of adapting the actual book, but you know what? The movie was actually married to its dead wife while it flirted with that idea, which was insulting and basically adultery, so I'm gonna give it a half point. 0.5 out of 30. Christine's outfit when the Phantom kidnaps her, 5%. Tiny detail, usually ignored in adaptations and doubly ignored here. She gets nabbed during the masquerade, not Faust when the chandelier fell. She was always Marguerite, either as an understudy or in the role herself, so she was never wearing Sybil's boy clothes, so no points. 0 out of 5. The unmasking scene, worth 15%, and you know what? I'm going to give it 15 out of 15. Are you happy? I'm not, but I'm going to do it anyway. The appearance of the mask, worth 15%. Oh, you mean the world's most unsettling mask and its runner-up? Well, it certainly isn't a black half mask with a small piece of cloth covering the mouth, so that's a 0 out of 15. Eric's unmasked face, 15%. Oh, well, I guess I have to give it a 10 out of 15 because you stole it from Lon Chaney. And of course, the final lair scene, 20%. There wasn't one. They put the chandelier crash there instead, so 0 out of 20. Grand total, 25.5 out of 100. And personal opinion rankings. Here are the tiers. Angel of Music, the best of the best. This is where the book lives. This is where my favorite adaptations will live. Christine Daae is the tier for adaptations that are really good. They may not be book accurate, but they are well made, fun to watch, and enjoyable. Our ingenues, beautiful and full of promise. La Carlotta in the book had a technically perfect voice, but it was a voice with no soul or passion. She could hit the notes, but it wouldn't make you feel anything. In that vein, La Carlotta is the tier for adaptations that check a lot of boxes, but don't actually move me. Ral de Chany is the tier for adaptations I feel neutral, sometimes even positive about. The Persian is always missing from these film adaptations, so the Persian tier is for adaptations that miss the point of the novel. The Phantom of the Opera is for evil criminal adaptations that want to blow up the opera house, the worst of the worst. And finally, Eric is the tier for evil criminal adaptations that want to blow up the opera house, just as bad as the worst of the worst, but through an act of kindness have transformed from monster into man. These are really bad movies with one redeeming quality. Made worst and at the bottom of the list because the fact that they even have that one redeeming quality is insulting because of how bad they are. Straight to Eric, obviously, and its only saving grace is that for a few brief moments, I got a glimpse of what a book-accurate version of this movie could have looked like, and it actually put to the screen some lines of dialogue and actions I don't think I've seen used in any movie yet. Anyway, that's done. I hope you enjoyed the video. I had fun making it, even though my ranting might make you think otherwise. It's worth watching if you're a completionist or if you want to see what I mean. It's also very fun to get riled up about something really inconsequential. Anyway, have you seen this version? Were you insulted by the brief glimpses of book accuracy? Do you think he's dead at the end, or does he just have a broken leg? Comment below and like and subscribe so you don't miss out on the next installment of 100 Years of Phantom, where I'll be going over the 1989 Phantom of the Opera involving magic time travel and Freddy Krueger as the Phantom. Okay, that's all. Thank you for watching. Jesus loves you. Bye!
Why have I done this? Sorry. Okay, I have been trying to get this part recorded correctly, but I feel like I'm putting too much passion into it, and it might be funny just to have this take. So let me just say, and I just have to ask, if you're going to change the names, the location,
the backstory, the motivations of the characters, and the dynamics of the relationships between the characters, then why are you even calling this Phantom of the Opera? Is it because you like the idea of a masked madman in an opera house and you wish you would have had that idea first? Well, too late, pal. Gaston Leroux already had the idea and he wrote it better. So why don't you go ahead and write whatever story you actually want to tell and call it, oh, Spooky Guy in the Singing Place, or I Miss My Dead Wife 2 Electric Boogaloo the night she came back, but she's calling herself Maria now. It's a mouthful, pal, but you can write it, and I am sick and tired of people deciding that the backstory of a man who was never given a single shred of kindness his entire life because of the way he looked is not as good as a guy who walked around as a normal man and then decided to start acting like a jerk because he had a facial injury. That's not a good enough reason, pal! And so what I want these people to stop doing is taking out the Angel of Music plotline and robbing Eric and Christine of their rich and complicated relationship. I'm sick of it! And that's how it'll sound if I really let myself put my all into it because I'm in the car. Okay, let's do one more.
2 days.